Today, we're diving into the story of how an almost unimaginable amount of grief was transformed into a 40-song farewell. We're going to explore how one artist took the ghosts of his past and turned them into this powerful testament to loss, survival, and ultimately, the power of art. So, to really get this album, you first have to understand the sheer scale of the tragedy that inspired it. I mean, this wasn't just about losing a few friends, this was the near total collapse of an entire support system. 90%. That's the number. The percentage of the artist's core support system. You know, the people who called him, pushed him, believed in him, that was lost. Just let that number sink in for a second. And he makes it brutally clear this isn't some kind of exaggeration. He says, not in a metaphorical way. I carried their caskets. This isn't just a statistic. It's the physical, soul-crushing weight he had to bear over and over and over again. So you can imagine that act of burying his friends became this relentless cycle, and it started to inflict its own unique kind of psychological damage. At one point, he had gone to 33 funerals, 33 separate times he had to say goodbye, to face that loss, until he just couldn't do it anymore. And in his own words, you can really hear that breaking point. It stopped being about individual goodbyes, and it became this horrifying routine, a pattern of grief he absolutely had to break just to survive. So what was the final straw? Well, it came down to the visuals. The memory of his friends' faces and their caskets became this inescapable nightmare, just replaying every single time he closed his eyes. At that point, avoiding funerals felt easier than adding another one of those images to his collection of ghosts. So when you're the one left behind, surrounded by all these ghosts, it leads to this really powerful and complicated emotional state that really it sits at the very heart of this album, survivor's remorse. Survival remorse is basically that deep, often totally irrational guilt for having lived when so many others, people you loved, did not. It's this profound sense of unfairness that can follow you around for a lifetime. That quiet little question of, why me? And for this artist, this was not some abstract idea. His remorse was specific. He felt like he had these gifts that could have actually helped his friends, but he believed he'd wasted them fighting in a system that wasn't meant for him. So his guilt was tied directly to this sense of squandered purpose. So what do you do with all that pain, all that guilt and grief? Well, he channeled it. He built something from the wreckage. And in this case, that something was an album. And this is the result for My Dead Friends. It's so much more than just a collection of songs. It's a musical memorial on a massive scale. It's an attempt to give a voice back to all of those who had been silenced. You know, the album is doing a few things all at once. It's about honoring the departed for sure, but it's also a way for him to speak to the ghosts that he feels walk with him every day. It's a confession, and it's a very conscious effort to finally close a chapter that took way too many people from him. But this isn't just about an ending. By creating this monumental tribute, the artist is also building a bridge to a new beginning, a bridge right out of that wreckage. You can think of the album as this definitive line in the sand. On one side, it's the final goodbye to the life that raised him, and on the other, it's the first step toward the new life he feels he is meant to build, a life with a new purpose. When you step back and look at it, this entire story is just an incredible testament to the power of creativity in the face of absolute devastation. And it kind of leaves us with a question, right?